This video will cover the small amount of course content that I was not able to cover in class on Wednesday, and it will also then discuss the wiki, which relates directly to this course content. So let's talk about what anatomy and physiology are and how they're related. So anatomy is the study of the structure and shape of the body and its parts, and it comes from Greek. Tomi means to cut. Ana means apart, so literally anatomy means to cut apart. And traditionally this is how anatomy was studied. Animals and occasionally cadavers were cut apart in the study of the structure of the body and its component parts. Now we can talk about anatomy from a gross perspective or from a microscopic perspective. Gross anatomy is the study of large structures that can be easily seen with the naked eye, such as teeth, hair, facial features, visceral organs such as the liver or the large or small intestine, stomach, etc. Microscopic anatomy is the study of structures that can only be seen or seen well through magnification, such as the use of a microscope. For example, if we wanted to observe the gastric glands of the stomach, we'd have to take a section of the stomach and then put it under a microscope, and there we could observe the structure of the gastric glands. We could even look, if we're using a high-powered microscope, at the structure of individual cells of the gastric glands. So anatomy is a study of the structure of the shape of the body and its parts. So what is physiology? Well, physiology is the study of how the body and its parts work and function. So anatomy is the study of structure. Physiology is the study of function. So why do we study them together? That is, how is anatomy related to physiology? Well, it's fairly easy to answer that question by looking at some organs that you are very familiar with, such as the teeth. So here we have three types of teeth: incisors, canines, and molars. Incisors are your front teeth. They're very thin and sort of blade shaped. Canines are shaped like a spade shovel. And molars are sort of square shaped. They have several cusps or ridges. So here we have three different types of teeth with slightly different structure or anatomy. And this reflects their slightly different functions. They're all used to grind food down from large parts to small parts, so they all have some commonality. They all contain the hardest structure found in the body, which is enamel. However, they are slightly different in their anatomy, and that reflects their functions. Incisors are used for biting and bringing food into the mouth. Canines are used for piercing and tearing, like tearing a Slim Jim, or if you're a Twilight fan, sucking blood. Molars are used to chew food and grind it down so it can be swallowed. So structure determines function. The slightly different structures of the teeth determine or are reflected in their slightly different functions. So structure determines function, or anatomy determines physiology. Or you could also say function or physiology determines structure or anatomy. So that's how anatomy and physiology are related. Now let's look at your assignment to make some postings to the wiki. So we'll go to Module 2. We'll scroll down to the wiki. And the challenges I was having with the wiki are pretty much have been overcome now. So click on Anatomy and Physiology is everywhere, and that will take you to the wiki. Now, the objective of this wiki is sort of to show you that this concept of anatomy or structure and physiology or function is not really foreign to you. You know, really, that the function of many inanimate objects that we use in our day-to-day lives is reflected in their functions. So what I'm asking you to do is to identify two items, single out a single structural characteristic, and relate a function to it. And I've provided you with an example here. I chose a plastic soda bottle. One structural characteristic is a plastic soda bottle is clear, and the function of it being clear is so you can see its contents. I also identified a second structural characteristic, which is the fact that a plastic soda bottle is flexible. Why is it flexible? Well, so that when you drop it or your kid drops it, it doesn't break. It used to be way back when I was a kid, we didn't have plastic soda bottles, we had glass soda bottles. And of course, every now and then one would get dropped and it would get broken. Okay, so I hope this example clearly illustrates what I'm looking for. One thing I do not want you to do is to completely describe an object. Last semester, I would have a student pick something like a chair, and they would describe the chair as they would describe the legs on the chair, the back of the chair, the seat, and then they would describe, and then they would say a chair is for sitting. That is not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to identify, take two objects, identify a single structural feature, and assign a single function to that structural feature. For example, with the chair, pick just the leg of the chair. Function would be hold the chair up. If it's a chair that has a wheel, you would pick wheel. Function would be to allow the chair to be moved. Okay? So I hope this is clear. When you're making your postings, put your first initial, period, and your last name so that I know who has posted what, and so I can assign appropriately your points or award appropriately your points. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Oh, one last thing. In the instructions, you're to pick two objects and list a structural and functional component of each. In this example, I took one object and I listed two structural components of that one object. What I'm asking you to do is to identify one structural component on two separate objects. So I hope that is clear. Thank you, and I will see you in class next week.